Thinking of friendship, couldn't be better to have the best speaker. Mel Horvath-Lucid, a perfect friend to Unity and a friend to many of us on a personal level. We're just delighted to have you here. I was thinking about you this morning, Mel, and the word that walked across my mind was beautifier. And I was thinking beautifier because you work in an industry that beautifies the outside, the physical and hair and aesthetics and the wonderful things you do to make people feel better about themselves and their outer appearance. And then I thought with your wonderful spiritual teachings and your deep insight and the wisdom you have, and how you put that across so freely, but also so insightfully and easy to understand, that we're just delighted to have you here again. I'm going to turn the screen over to you, and you can take over as our speaker today. So welcome, welcome, welcome on behalf of Unity Kitchener.
Thank you and good morning. I was marveling, of course, with curiosity and wonder at the reality that I'm speaking about, embodying Anam Cara this morning, and it's Friendship Sunday. And I didn't know that when I gave this information. And that's the sort of synchronicity that I think is so beautiful about life, so cool about life, is that these synchronicities exist if we're willing to see them. So today I am talking about embodying Anam Cara. And Anam Cara is a philosophy, a Celtic philosophy that in part says the two souls that meet are stronger together than apart. Anam meaning soul and Cara meaning friend. And I want to talk about the philosophy and the energy of this because part of our ability to embody is understanding our part. And so the soul friend wants what's best for the other. And that may sound super simple, and yet I've found in my life that we can easily wish to move into other places within relationships where we move away from what's best for somebody else and we start to impose our thoughts, our opinions, or maybe even what we think is best. If nothing else I said today stuck with you, I'd want this too. The soul friend deeply sees the other. It is always the act of recognition. Within this concept of soul friend, then, it is about seeing the other. It is about seeing the synchronicities. It is about living with curiosity and wonder. The soul friend inspires and supports the awakening of your soul. A person sees you in such a way that you can become more of your divine self within their presence, more whole, more real. A soul friend provides a strong container for understanding, and then the soul finds a safe place for belonging. And the last time I spoke, I talked about the tension between whatever our circle of good is and reality. What is real? What is there before us? And so that Anam Cara, when they are present in front of us, we can show up as who we are. And there is space for that and acceptance within that. Another piece that can be misunderstood is Anam Cara was never limited to just romantic love. These are the people, and you will know them because there is this ancient recognition when you meet them. There is something inexplicable about why you connect the way you do, why you show up the way you do, how you are in their presence in such a way. It is the space where your mind is blown by the connection that you have with another. And they may pass through and you may momentarily connect with them, and they may walk with you for a while, or they may be in your life forever. It does not limit the value of that sacred or divine connection. It is the seeing and meeting of soul to soul. That's what we have the potential to do in this life, and that's what we have the potential to be. And an Anam Cara doesn't define or limit the connection. It simply recognizes its existence. And why this is important is because oftentimes we will project our own hopes or desires on something. And we meet them, oh, we will be best friends. We will be lovers. We will be life partners. And we start to label, and we actually define and confine the connection. And we do that because security is comfortable. The illusion of security is something we want. However, when we expand back out and we simply recognize the soul in front of us and are able to say, I see you, the world opens. John O'Donohue in his book, Anam Cara, says, behind your image, below your words, above your thoughts, the silence of another world waits. So much is beyond what we think we know in this tangible space of perceived security. And I really quite appreciate this quote. This is, imagine, this is speaking to an Anam Cara. To you, I can open my heart and share my innermost self. I can trust you to accept me for who I am. And by doing this, you help me give birth to my soul. Neither time nor space can break this friendship. Call me, and like the hawk on the wind, I will race to you. This is the potential that we have to meet one another and to be met. When I started thinking about this embodiment of the Anam Cara, though, of course, and those of you that have heard me speak before won't be surprised to say this, I thought about what inner work has to be done in me in order for me to show up in the potential of an Anam Cara, in order to show up as the soul friend I seek to be. And similar to those that are death doulas that walk the end times of life with someone, the Anam Cara gives the potential to walk a life with another in this tangible, deep, and meaningful way, but it requires of us to show up. So the posture of an Anam Cara, if I were to start to draw the energy of this in, it's understanding, firstly, in unity, of course, supports these teachings soulfully, that each of us are artists of our days. The greater our integrity and awareness, the more original and creative our time here will become. We are the artists. We create. What are we creating? And so the energy, the posture of an Anam Cara is, it says, I am a person who can love freely without conditions. I am able, and that for me would be linking to this understanding of there is only one, there's love present. I'm either living in it or I'm not. And the best part is that as I'm talking, I hope there's a part of you in the back of your mind that's like, yeah, and that's easier said than done. Yes, this is the point. These are simple teachings, but the application of them is where the growth happens. If we don't live into these things, we don't start to know who we really are. Who am I really? And so the Anam Cara, that posture, I'm able to accept life on life's terms. Life, the very act of living life is risk. We risk, and we risk harm every time we risk connection and relationship. We will not come out of this life unscathed. We will not come out of relationships unscathed. So that can't be the point. I'm able to accept my own light and dark, and therefore can accept others. And I would say that was a key point that I brought in my last talk. If our circle of good is so small, there's not a room for other people to show up as they are. We don't have space to hold it. So we're called to expand our container. The Anam Cara posture says, I am a lover of the universe. I am open to being curious and romanced and living with wonder. And again, this phrase, this line, I am able to recognize and appreciate deep soul connections when they come along. If we can't see them and recognize them, then how can they ever be? If we aren't open to those deep connections, to being surprised, we won't be. This is part of the choice, the artistry of how we create our lives. And yet to risk being open, to risk recognizing a soul connection in another, means we have to do so freely. Means we have to do so without writing the story and telling the person how they're going to show up and how long they're going to be there and what it's going to look like. I'm able to be with you where you're at and love you as you are. Think about those spaces. And if you haven't felt that yet, imagine what a space would feel like where you are able to be you, where you're at, however that looks like, and be loved as you are. That's the potential we're called into holding for other people. I'm curious and delight in knowing and in the knowing and growing of you. I'm curious and delight in the knowing and growing of you. I take time to want to know you. What does this mean to you? Why does it matter? What are you learning? Tell me about your world. I aim to connect and understand. And I'm open and can make space for your truth, in part because I've done my work. I know that I'm a mixture of all things, and that you are. So when you show up as a mixture of all things, I am not surprised or harmed. I'm simply curious. What does that mean for you? What is that about? And I want you to be the fullest and wholest expression of yourself. The Anam Cara ultimately says, I see and recognize your soul. Over and over, show me what is mine, and I will show you what is yours. That is the type of fearless friendship that we desire. We desire to grow and to know ourselves. But when we do that whole showing what is mine and showing what is yours, there has to be the container of the energy of the above in order to hold that. There has to be that acceptance, that understanding of love, that space for which somebody can be held and be known. And not every person we meet has this ignitive spark within us. And the more we embody Anam Cara, the more we have these capacities within us, the more we will be able to see and recognize the soul in another. Last time I showed a picture of the yin and the yang, and basically all these preconceived ideas of what is desirable and undesirable. And this understanding, we're all of that. And so in John O'Donoghue's book, Anam Cara, he says, if you try to avoid or remove the awkward quality, it will pursue you. What we resist persists, essentially. The only effective way to still its unease is to transfigure it, to let it become something creative and positive that contributes to who you are. And I was thinking about in my life where there's been times where I've had love that has gone unexpressed. The love that I had was not the container that it would be received in, had no bottom, as it were. And in that moment, I made a choice, and it was very, very conscious, to create. And I paint, and I write, and I create, and I transfigure that experience, that moment, and it becomes something creative, and it flows in a new way. If I am focused only on that expression taking one form, I miss the expansiveness of the expressions that this form can take. So the suggestion is that perhaps we can baptize these negative qualities to become our best qualities, rather than banishing what is at first glimpse unwelcome. We bring it back home to unity with our lives. And I love this line: one of our sacred duties is to exercise kindness towards them, kindness towards our awkward qualities. In this sense, you are called to be a loving parent to your delinquent qualities. And I think we forget, we sometimes stall ourselves in this moment of childlike experience and then meet it the same way. And yet we have now these adult spiritual maturities that we can hold ourselves in, that we can hold the all of who we are in. And it's kind of like, for me, feeling like the universe is giving me a kick in the pants and saying, pull up your big human pants and get going. And that's sort of the energy for which we can meet the entirety of ourselves is, hey, what are you about really? What are you needing really? What's underneath? Becoming curious about that and then drawing that into ourselves and transforming it. There is a very, very powerful idea, and it is the idea that we separate idea and affection. And the cool thing is hopefully just in me mentioning it, you will live your life in the next weeks, and hopefully you'll remember this. And you'll notice how quickly we withdraw affection when we're met with an idea that is different than ours, and how easily we give affection when the idea is the same as ours. And part of spiritual maturity then is that we learn to hold affection and hold ideas that are different than one another at the same time. And again, that may sound unbelievably simple. And yet, when I first heard that separation of idea and affection, or mind and heart, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I do it all the time. Somebody says something and I go on the defensive, and automatically I close down that part of myself. I shut off my connection with divine. And I go into this different place. And part of our spiritual maturity is to call ourselves back into curiosity and wonder in those moments of difference. A few things about that from my experience in mediation. And that is that the why is more connective than the what. Sure, we all have positions and opinions on things. It's not actually that exciting. It's not actually super growth promoting either, because our growth isn't in what we think we know, whatever that opinion may be. Our growth is when we understand the why of our own positions, and also when we understand the why of another's position. But oftentimes we stay in the what, and I have my opinion and you have your opinion, and I withdraw my affection. And the universe is saying, grow up. Grow up and figure out how to hold all these tensions that exist at the same time, with more grace, with more love, with more presence, to be able to be whole and one in those moments of difference, to be able to be present with one another, and to remain curious and wonder about what experiences have you had that have brought you to that place. Tell me about those. And in that, may I see over and over again what is mine and what is yours. And may we both pull up our spiritual maturity pants and show up within that. Interests are always more generative than principles. We have, for example, the Unity 5 principles. That's awesome. They're great. They will not mean the same thing to any of you. Choosing to be curious in what your interest is in the principles will reveal for you hidden wisdoms and truths of what that means to you, what your experience is of that. And it becomes even more powerful when you have spaces for which you can share with another why it matters to you, the interest you have in the things around you, how it connects to you. So the big part of our transformative journeys is to remain curious and with a posture of wonder, and that this can lead to greater understanding. And when the universe really wants to give me a kick in the pants, the universe reminds me that what I do when the waters are calm really isn't saying much about me at all. How you treat others reveals your own character, and particularly the connecting within, how we be, do, act, and think from a soul-connected place. And this is an inner analysis. This is the inner place within us for which we go within and we say, am I being, doing, acting, and thinking from a soul-connected place? From a place for which I care about the things I've said I value, from a place for which I'm demonstrating care for the collective, or is this just about me? Because oftentimes it can be. No problem. Notice that and then move in a way that's different. Move in a way that's more expansive. And part of that is by stepping outside of ourselves into other places and experiences and ideas, and remaining connected while doing it. Holding that space for affection for ourselves and others within the difference of our ideas. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. My greatest fear was that my dog was going to bark while I was talking, and that has come true. Oh no, now he's growling. It's getting worse and worse. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so what we do when things, when we're being pushed against, when we're on the defensive, when we're not feeling connected, that's telling more about us. That's not really about the other person in that moment. That's about us. Our responses, our reactions, the way we carry ourselves is our responsibility. It's not linked to how other people show up. It's linked to how connected we are within ourselves and with divine in those moments. And the good thing about those pressurized moments is that they, well, at least for me, tell me what work I have to do. Well, darn, there was an area where I thought I had it together. Not quite. That's okay. What am I doing next? Right? Meeting those layers with curiosity and wonder, and meeting another with curiosity and wonder. I love this quote, relax, nothing is in control. Oftentimes when I look at life, I think about the times where we keep looking for that false sense of security, and we keep looking for that control. And in relationships and friendships, watch for that. Watch for the side of yourself that moves away from wanting the best for somebody else. And maybe it's that you want them to stay. I really wanted you to stay the way you were, because that gave me this, and that gave me that. And yet we know change is constant. And if we're loving with that risk of life and the importance of life like that, we will know that the person in front of us is going to change. We will know that what we are doing will have various different outcomes and various different paths, because we're co-creating our stories. The second we enter into relationship with somebody else, we risk losing some of whatever control we perceive to have. The other thing is this: when we live lives where we risk connection with other people, where we risk relationship, we risk being curious and wonder and recognizing the soul in front of us. John O'Donohue says this: once the soul awakens, the search begins and you can never go back. From then you are inflamed with a special longing that will never again let you linger in the lowlands of complacency and partial fulfillment. The eternal makes you urgent. You are loath to let compromise or the threat of danger hold you back from striving towards the summit of fulfillment. When we ignite our lives, when we start to live into those enlivened, impassioned, and soulful places of our lives, when we start to lean on the understanding that our soul knows the geography of our destiny, we can't go back. The draw to more becomes too much. And those are the moments that compel and drive us forward and connect us in. And it's risky. And it's uncontained. And it's rich and meaningful and filled with everything, tension of experiences. And we learn from those experiences. We learn by going through and living our lives fully. So what are you resting in? John O'Donohue says, if you could trust your soul, you would receive every blessing you require. Life itself is the greatest sacrament through which we are both wounded and healed. Relationships, friendships will wound us and they will heal us. This is the deeper, wise truth. And in my life, tangibly, I have noticed how much of my affection to my friends or my relationship with those that I've been romantically involved with has hinged upon what they feel, what they're doing, how are they feeling. I can bring only to the degree that they bring. And maybe that sounds familiar to you, and maybe you have a different life dynamic for what you've done, but that was mine. And I'm telling you, there was a moment. And it was a moment for which I realized that I was going to be wounded and healed in every friendship and romantic relationship that I had. And that what mattered was that I knew what I felt, that I knew what I thought, that I knew what mattered to me. And that my experience and the other person's experience, whether friendship, relationship, or how it ends, that I knew what it was for me. And in that moment, the quote that says, "A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not in the branch, but on its own wings," that was a moment of shift for me. I've made it through 100% of what's happened to me in my life. I'm going to make it through the next thing that happens. I need to know where I'm at, what I'm about, what I'm doing, what matters to me, how I show up, how I'm feeling, in a way that holds that posture of generosity for the souls that I meet in this life. That's mine. The outcome, how the other person shows up, all of those things are actually not mine. And when we can start to rest in those deeper places within us, change happens. Part of it is embracing spiritual maturity. And sometimes we miss the point and we go back and we creep along the ground and we stay close to the ground because we think that's what's going to hurt less. And we live in chronically diminished and deprived spiritual spaces within our lives. Or we know that we can step out and that we might go under the water, that we might get hit around, kicked around, pushed around. But when we sit first in that quality, in that depth of ourselves, when we become that Anam Cara, when we become that soul friend, so connected to the souls of ourselves that we can start to see the souls of another, naturally those water wings and things that we think we need to put in place dissipate. And we see things with new eyes, and we hear with new eyes, and we feel from new chambers and expanses of ourselves. So I want to invite you into a meditation, and I'm going to stop screen share for that. And I'm also going to turn off my camera, and I'm going to invite you inward within yourself, into your own space, as we explore deeper the quality of Anam Cara. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me. I rest in that love. Embodying Anam Cara. I am open. That is all you need to know. Revealing hidden intimacy. To be recognized and belong. I cut across all conventions and categories, for I am the friend of your soul. To be known truly. To be known deeply. Oh, we think we know. And this closes us. But sometimes the cross-section of what we have been told shows us new paths, unmarked paths, and we walk them wild, and we find ourselves. The heart space is open here. To be held, to be met. That is all that matters. The bonding of souls, intangible, uncontained. Your aura touches mine since before time began. I will always recognize you, open, trusting, and we flow together, timeless, spaceless, undefined. I will recognize you in the trees, in the water, to celebrate every moment, to be easily amazed, to companion another, to be risky enough to be companioned. Walk with me into the unfolding. Over and over, show me what is mine, and I will show you what is yours. Anam Cara, rise up within me, around me. Open ourselves in a way that each person can touch our heart. Dimensional, extraordinary experience. To remember again and again that the universe is loving you. To see the love in all that is, all that was, and all that will come. To reflect, to give, to connect, to presence, to cultivate space to receive. Over and over, show me what is mine, and I will show you what is yours. Breathing now into a moment of silence, into the energy of Anam Cara. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me. I rest in that love. I'll finish with a quote by John O'Donohue. Love allows understanding to dawn and understanding is precious. Where you are understood, you are at home. Understanding nourishes belonging. When you feel understood, you feel free to release yourself into the trust and shelter of another person's soul. You experience what it is for two souls to flow together as one.